Come on, friends, this is Rick, and this is your seat at the table. And, you know, I threw this out just for some color and make it look, you know, a little bit different and interesting. I mean, come on, how many of you, if you're true gamers, how many of you don't have? I'm probably on the light end for a lot of y'all. Y'all probably got crates of these things. I've got, you know, some of this dice. You can see this dates back to the late 70s. Right, this is the stuff that used to come in. You old gamers, you know, this is the stuff that used to come in those box sets when we bought the original D&D books and things like this. The red book, black, blue book system. That's where these came from. I think this one's from Gamma. Be honest, don't quote me on that. I can't guarantee it, but you know. And then we got traditional dice. This came out of, you know, a risk game system, I'm sure. And this is some stuff I bought over the counter since then. This type was very popular back in the 80s, and I bought into that. And then by the 90s, we're switching over to stuff like this, you know, and there's some more updated versions. This is one I bought 3 or 4 years ago, so the concept's the same. The numbers are just a little bigger is all. But anyway, and this here, the Farmers Savings Bank of Mitchellville, Bonnaroo, Iowa. I still bank at this bank. It's called Legacy now. And I was a child when mom got this from the bank. This was a gift they gave out to a bunch of people for opening a savings account back in the day. And I have that same. Well, the savings account's gone, but I've had a checking account with the bank since I was 16, and the wife and I still use this bank. We travel from Des Moines to Mitchellville every week to cash our checks at the bank and to use the post office next door because it's ties to my home, and I'm kind of weird that way. We get mail here all the time and stuff. We pay our bills and stuff digitally, like a lot of people, etc. Anyway, you're not here for any of that crap. This is Middle Earth's campaign book, The Grey Mountains, based on J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. This is one of my favorite of all the MERP stuff. It's not the favorite by a long shot. I think this was second generation, just based off of this second generation rules and a game system for MERP. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure on any of that stuff. But this is from Iron Crown Enterprises and produced in 1992, right? And it deals with. There was a map, and I have the map someplace. But like I said, I had piles of stuff and more piles of stuff, and there's another folder of maps out in. See, that potentially could be part of the map. I don't remember. This is northern Misty Mountains, and there's an adjacent map that goes here. I don't remember if this one came with which particular module was. Now this is the Angmar. This is Carndum or Angmar, so that's how this goes. But there would be another map that goes from here over here, because this is the area we're talking about right there. And see, like here's one of the Misty Mountain map sections, and you can see another version. This is northern. This one came with northern Mirkwood. So there is all of its glory. This whole area through here, Withered Hearth and the Grey Mountains, that this particular book campaign book belongs to. Now I have ran 2 or 3 campaigns set in the Grey Mountains, and of all the settings in Central Middle Earth, this one here has the most ubiquitous potential for just tying in with Dungeons and Dragons rule books and things like that, because you have so little. You're not dealing with the elves. You're not dealing with the Numerians, the Gondor, Arthedain, or any of this stuff for the most part. And if you really like running campaigns around dwarves, based around dwarves with dwarven characters as your main player characters, this is one of those great settings for that. It also deals with a handful of dragons and things like this. Although dragons in the Middle Earth are no joke. there are very few people that go up against even the smallest ones and have any chance of success. It's not like womp rat hunting in Tatooine, my friend. This is, no, this is not something to take on lightly. And you're a fool if your group does, then they deserve. And if they get what they get eaten and turned into whatever, then start another campaign. Is what it is. Converting abilities, or converting stats, allowing you to adjust to any game system. Like I said, that's one of the things I've always loved about Rollmaster, in specific MERP, is that they include in every supplement, or pretty much, I have yet to find one that doesn't have it in here. I suspect there might be one or two. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I look in here, it'll be in there too. But it lets you, here's the D100 system, the D20 system, 6 dice system, 12 dice system. So it's a matter of how you want to, I've got D6 systems, D20 systems, and D100 systems. I don't know if I have any game system that actually uses D12s. Have you heard of a game system whose base is D12s? Obviously there must be, otherwise why they included that. It must have been something back in the day that I didn't have, and I grant you I didn't have a lot. There's only so much you could, some of us can afford to put on our shelves. Introduction, overview, history of the Grey Mountains, the Tales of Durin's Folk, the Dragon's Attack, the Tale of Scaff the Worm, Narvi the Fifth, and the Legend of Selost, the Grey Mountains in the latter times, from Third Age 2600 to the fall of Erebor. Says the Dwarves fled from their Grey Mountain holes, bitter and disenchanted. They returned to Erebor, although some went east to the Iron Hills. With the passing of the Dwarves from the Grey Mountains, the dragons ruled supreme in the region, but they soon found that there was no new settlements to plunder. The mountains were desolate, and the lands to the south empty of men. Ever greedy, the dragons became restless and consumed by their pride and jealousy of other drake hordes, turned upon each other, which is good. Let the dragons fight dragons. All right. Close of Third Age, a brief timeline, the Withered Hearth, the Northern Wastes, the Narrows, the Grey Mountains, climate patterns. It is a foreboding region, even in the best times. And 2/3 of the year, you're dealing with winter, and winter-like conditions is brutal. That makes perfectly good sense why the dwarves would thrive, because they are underground, and the orcs survive because for the most part they're underground. Although there is a tribe of ice orcs that are included in here, that inhabit the great northern wastes, and of all orc tribes tend to be the most independent and innovative for survival. They're definitely not your average orcs from the south. Trolls, of course, other evil creatures, spell beasts, you find much more of them up here. Dragons, of course, the origins of the Withered Hearth drakes. Dragons of note, the greater drakes, and so we have a running list of their backgrounds, their names, and their stats for about a dozen or so, and how they're related to each other or not related, and how some hate each other or don't, etc. Some work together and some don't, etc., etc. Of course, Smog. Smog was the greatest of all of them at this time period, and he basically was aloof from most of their internal fighting. Eventually, that's why he decided he went to Erebor seeking an even greater horde. Lesser drakes, so we got a slew of smaller ones. People and cultures, and age 1640. Third Age 1640 is traditional game setting for MERP. Third Age 2580, about time of the Great about time. Yeah, this is I guess I'm not sure exactly what. Oh, this would be about the years after the Witch King Angmar ends. The Baronings have always maintained aloof from other races. The Dwarves. The Ice Orcs, I was just referring to. A lot of good stuff in there about them. Politics and power, government, situation in the north, people of note. So politics of the governments of the Baronings, the Orcs, the Ice Orcs, and the Dwarves. And note, the Ice Orcs are different from the regular Orcs. They have a different set of concepts. They're still evil, wicked, nasty SOBs. Don't get me wrong, they're Orcs. The Dwarves are people of note. Dane the First, Fror, Thor, Thorn's father, grandfather, Borin, Ice Orcs, Dockelmog, Urdok, Nadash, Durba, some Baronins, Baronan is also dwarf friend, strange friendship with a radically different lifestyle. Narby V, once the dwarf lord of the settlement of Solost, now fallen, the descendant of Narby I has passed into the realm of the undead to become a greater ghost. Yeah, if you want a ghost-infested dwarven citadel, there's Solos is a place for you. Nordum, whether it be the oldest or the largest of Grey Mountain colonies, Nordum is the capital of Durin's folk, chosen because of its central location in relation to the other settlements. Nordum is in the center of Dwarvish industry. Large mining colonies such as Thunder Cleft and Silver Pit transport their overland to Nordum for smelting. That's kind of silly. No offense. I understand it, but yet that would imply that those other colonies were very, very small. Refining work. Craftsmanship, yeah, I can see that. Take your refined metals too, but dragging a bunch of unrefined ore, through the mountains or under the mountain, no, that's retarded. Just my opinion. Wheel traps, upper level. So Nordum in its nutshell. Once again, this is one of those reasons I love these source books and modules because all these are translatable. These make great locations. I can plug and play these into any game system pretty much I want. I could use this just as easily in a Star Wars campaign with just a little bit of modification. So as I can in Dungeons and Dragons or in, shoot, I could turn this into Shadowrun, MechWarrior, if I really wanted to some aspect. Just a matter of changing a few names and what their purposes are. It could easily be an underground weapons catch for Castle Brian, the gates of Alexander, or gates of Korinsky, or something like that. If you're a BattleTech fan, etc., etc. So, Call it Darkla, stands to a butte in the northern foothills of the Grey Mountains, opposing fortress of the Ice Orcs. So, our Ice Orcs citadel and their stuff. The Murder Shaft. Officers' Caves, Barracks, Harem, Main Hall, Bedroom, Palace Caves. I wonder if some of these books would not be PC friendly today. There's some certain terminology that we accepted back then by today's issues and moral standards and conundrums would definitely not find their way into current books and things. And this puts me as a bit of an old school hack because this is. I understand now why I used to make fun of some of my elders back in the day for being old school hacks, and now I understand what it means to be an old school hack. Selos, located high in the mountains. This is a city out of Dwarvish legend. Stories of the lost city and its founder, the dynamic Narby V, who is the descendant of Narby, the one who helped inscribe with the western gates of Moria. Bound throughout the Dwarven communities and sought truth. He was obsessed with finding true silver in the Grey Mountains, which he never found. And his obsession led to a lot of tragedy and terrible actions, and ended up basically turning his entire colony into a pit of undead and unhappy undead at that. So Steel Fall is situated on top of Sereth Herad in the west central Grey Mountains. The lair of the dragon is Ursul, etc. So we got dragon lair, typical dragon lair, some more dwellings, another dragon's lair. Lots of interesting stuff. Avenues of trade in search of silver, vengeance, legend of Steelfall, Dark Ice Fortress, Under Siege, the Trail of the Gretch. These are all part of the mini campaigns or adventures. Layouts of Bertruzing, which has been a baroning Northwood human settlement. Orc Cave area, Orc Cave. Details for the Orc Cave encounters. Objective of the mission is straightforward: is search out raiding orcs and dispose of them. The tricky part of the job comes to dealing with their leader and slave driver, the Gretch. He's a nasty character, and being undead, a difficult one to defeat. In addition to the journey to the cave is Pelorius itself. We got Morgazin the Giant. Traders proving the Gretch. And long ago, Ages ago, abandoned dwarves dug out the mine tunnels, which later become the Orc's lair. Those enterprising dwarf miners found the shafts rewarded their labor well, yielding large quantities of iron ore, silver, copper, even a vein of precious mithril. I stand corrected, so they did find a little bit of mithril in the Grey Mountains. Pursued their work undisturbed for many years. However, a huge party of orcs decided to settle in the area, blah, blah, blah. So, NPCs, more settings. Oh, there's so much good stuff in here. I've been pre-reading this one here for the past 3 weeks. Anyway, so this is a grid book, great one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you get a chance to get a version of this or PDF, by all means, there's a lot of useful, interesting stuff. If nothing else, if you're a Middle-earth fan, I can't emphasize that enough, that one of the things that really turned me on to Mirk in the very beginning was I've always been an absolute fan of Tolkien's work ever since I was young enough to be able to read. I mean, here's as an example. I mean, this is one of my first books when I bought it for my personal use. I was reading the ones from my school whenever I could get them out. I got in trouble a couple times for having checked out too much. This book was published in 1973. So I think, no, 1982. So this is a 1982 version of the older books. And I got this, so I would have been, let's see, 18. I was 18 in 85, so I've been 16. That makes sense because I just got my driver's license and I was able to get out and go to places. And I was going to Borders Bookstore. Borders Bookstore had a couple chain stores, one in Southridge Mall and one out in Merle Hay Mall, and I would go every other week to either one, and I would go and I would buy 2 or 3 novels of various types, and in my 1980s money, working for various pizza places back then for $5.35 an hour. It's the same thing with the games. I would go to Ivers Dungeon and once a week or once every other week at least, and I would drop probably $50 of 1980s money. So at $5.35 an hour, you figure I was dropping over a third of my check on average between buying stuff of this nature, because this was my passion and my love. Anyway, till next time, this is Rick, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.